No, I was a graduate of the ROTC program from San Jose State. I always wanted to be an Army officer, and it was at that time I thought I'd be a career officer. I thought the Marine Corps was nuts. No, if you're gonna, to me, if you're gonna go into join a military unit, the Army infantry seemed like the basic thing. I graduated on January 24th, 1964, and I reported to Benning on January 30th. Well, I was there initially to go to the infantry officer's basic course. Upon graduation, I was assigned to the headquarters company, 2nd Brigade of the 38th. Wait a minute, 38th Infantry of the 2nd Infantry Division, which was at Benning, and that was actually we had a second designation, which was the 11th Air Assault Division, and so I was sent there as a communications platoon leader. I was there maybe less than a year. Less than a year, then I was sent to Charlie Company, 2nd Battalion, 38th Infantry, 2nd Infantry Division, and then became a rifle platoon leader at that time. Just prior to Vietnam, I was promoted. I had been promoted to first lieutenant, and I was I was taken out of the field as a rifle platoon leader and made a mortar platoon leader before we went to Vietnam. Actually, we left in August of 1965 from Benning. We went by ship, so we didn't get into Vietnam actually until September of '65. I've never been on a ship before in my life, and it's an experience, and now I know why I never joined the Navy. But we went from the East Coast, from Charleston, down through the Panama Canal, which was an interesting segment of our journey, and just basically it was just interesting going through the canals. Then went up to Long Beach, California I guess they were going to resupply the ships. Prior to arriving in Vietnam, a couple of days outside port, we had a meeting, and my company commander and battalion commander told us we were going to have a hot beach, that we would have to assault the beach, take the beach, and then after that we would ride in convoy to An Khê. We had a party that had been sent there earlier, had flown over and had started building the base. So when we came off the ship, we went on the, I don't know what they call them, LCIs or something like that, but it's a landing craft they do in World War II. We went down the rope ladders, jumped in the landing craft, did some circling around, and we were told we were going to assault the beach. So we were pretty hyped and ready to go. We hit the beach, and we all came screaming out of the LCIs, and General Westmoreland and the Army band greeted us. So it was kind of a letdown, to say the least. And then they just threw us in Chinooks and they flew us to An Khê. We were involved some with the cleaning up of the area and also pulling security at night. But there wasn't a lot going on. It was just the security of the base, basically, pretty much. But then I got sent out. I got transferred out in it's about the 1st of October down to the 173rd Airborne. So I left the unit in An Khê and went and had to fly down to Bien Hoa. It was interesting because I was going from the 1st Cav, which was considered a very elite unit in the Army, and I was going to an airborne unit, which is really the elite of the Army. And it was a great experience. It was you really knew you were with some very sharp soldiers. And I had a company commander named Walt Daniel, who was called Diesel Stamp. That's what everybody called him. Well, we didn't call him that. We called him Sir, but he was a fantastic company commander and had a pretty gung-ho unit. A platoon of about 40 young paratroopers. We were a little heavy. We might have even had 45, probably over two at TO&E. Yeah, a typical mission was the company went out, and we went as a company or a battalion sometimes, and did search and destroys, basically, just looking for the enemy, trying to make contact. Usually in pretty heavy jungle. War Zone D was just about 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers north of our base, so we spent time in there. Went to the Iron Triangle. That was my first mission, was the Iron Triangle. Triple canopy jungle, swampy, really it was just a miserable type of terrain to go through. It wasn't necessarily hilly or anything, but it was just thick with jungle. And you were you knew an enemy territory and you had no idea where they were. you couldn't see or hear anything. It's a little hairy. I think the thing that made it a little easier was the fact I was with 200 guys, so I wasn't not overly worried that we were going to get wiped out or anything. But you're still walking through something you can't see. A lot of wait-a-minute vines, which means that they hook up on your pack, and you'll take a step forward, and they'll drag you 2 steps back, and you would just keep fighting this terrain all the way in the vegetation. And there was leeches and snakes and everything else that you have to deal with in the jungle. We went out there for about 4 or 5 days, I think. We didn't make any contact, and then we finally went back in. And then the next major operation was in the War Zone D. Operation Hump 1965 was a life changer. We went out for 5 days on the 5th of November, and War Zone D is just above Ben Hoa. It's right across the river from Ben Hoa. And it was a Viet Minh, what do you want to say, stronghold ever since the war with the French. And the South Vietnamese, I don't think ever went in there. We were one of the first units to go in. In this operation, which was called Hump, we knew they were there because we had our radio research unit had intercepted radio signals out of War Zone D. So we were told that if we received the code word sour apples, that meant they knew where they were. So on the 3rd day, the night of the 3rd day, which would be the 7th of November, that night we set up on a trail, just off a trail, and we got sour apple was sent over the brigade net. So we sent units out looking, see if we can make contact. There was nothing, but there was one of the great quotes was one of the company commanders says his men reported that there was chickens cackling. And it was, what are chickens doing in the jungle? And then trying to get the sequence. That night, a Viet Cong and or NVA soldier walked into our perimeter somehow, and we killed him. Unfortunately, nobody asked him questions. He was killed first. The next morning, 8 o'clock, we went out. All the units went out, different areas. My unit went east. Bravo Company went north and northwest. Charlie Company went west and southwest. And we made contact about 0800. Charlie Company made contact first. They ran into probably a battalion. There were about 1,200, and we were about 500, I think. And we ran into them on Hill 65. Charlie Company made first contact. Bravo Company, which was to their north, turned around and moved towards them, was heading south to bolster Charlie Company. My company was brought back in, and then we were brought in to make an assault on the Gooks from the let's see if I can get the directions right. We were going to go south, head north, and try to cut the Gooks off. As we started moving, we were just hooking up. We got the order from Captain Daniel. He said, 1st platoon go first, 3rd platoon go second, and 2nd platoon be last. And we would make a circle, just pick each other up and head out. Well, Dave, his 1st platoon, picked me up, and I came in next. And about that time, we were getting close to the 2nd platoon's command post. A mortar was dropped in the middle of it. It killed the platoon sergeant, a couple of squad leaders, wounded the platoon leader, wounded the medics, and I think there was something like 7 or 8 casualties. It landed right in the middle. So 2nd platoon had to be stayed there. They couldn't move because there were too many casualties. So Dave and I took off for the hill. Company commander brought us online. We made an assault towards the hill. Dave saw a machine gun nest, attacked it. He was killed by a Gook who had been wounded. Still had enough life in to pull the trigger and shot Dave in the head. Dave was West Point 64, and my roommate. We then broke contact. We moved back. They attacked us. We fought. We killed probably 100 of them in the process, and then we finally made it back to base camp. The reason we had to break contact was we were the only force left in the battalion that could do anything, and the battalion commander was concerned that if he needed us to keep that area where he was secured so they could bring helicopters in the next day and get us the hell out of there. So that's why he brought us out rather than having us pursuing the attack more. There was a all-day battle, and it came close to us getting overrun. Fortunately, we had air support and artillery support, and I think we had naval support too. Excuse me. And we're able to basically get them to retreat. The final final numbers were 403 enemy dead, 51 Americans died, probably about another 85, 90 were wounded. So we lost just about a rifle company in that battle. The guys who some of the guys who were counting the dead bodies said that there was a whole hill of dead gooks that they never got to. And so the figure 400 has been questioned at different times. Supposedly, and according to the commanding general, a few months later, the 1st Infantry Division went into War Zone D, found some written material in that same general area that stated that the VCE had 2 field hospitals and that one of them took in 700 dead. So, yeah. They said Dave's body was, Dave was brought back by one of his sergeants, and his body was laid down by the company command post. And I remember going over to pulling the poncho off and looking at him, and I can't remember that. All I know is I did it, but I don't know what I saw. In fact, my remembrance is more that I see myself kneeling by the poncho and raising it, but I see myself from 20 feet back and somebody overlooking me. So that's where the life-changing part was. Yes, I went to the wall in 85. I've only been there once, and I'm going back. Well, there's almost a whole section that just has all our guys' names on it. I have a picture of myself waiting for the plane to take me out of there, and I had a big smile on my face. I know that. Just happy. We all cheered as soon as the plane wheels off the ground. Just one big cheer. We got flown into McChord, and then from McChord, another captain and I and another guy, I can't remember who it was, 3 of us jumped a cab and went to SeaTac, and I flew home to Los Angeles that night about 9 or 10 o'clock, I think it was. First of all, on the plane, I had a rifle with me that I had. It was a trophy that my units had found, and we all got we all got rifles. So I brought that home. Well, I was sitting on the front part of the plane was basically empty. I was sitting in the front part of the coach section. I went to get up to get a bathroom, and I was going to go right to the first class section. I don't even know if anybody was in there. And the stewardess stopped me and gave me a bunch of crap, basically, and looked me up and down like I was a piece of dirt. So that wasn't too bright. I mean, that wasn't too welcoming. I won't fly United Airlines because of that. It was shock. It was culture shock coming back. It took weeks to try to get some kind of semblance of order again. I was still in the Army, and I was a problem. Well, first of all, I was in Los Angeles, and you can't wear a uniform because this is 1968, you'd be in big trouble. So you had to sneak around kind of thing, It was a little disgusting too. And the reception we got wasn't anything, obviously. And I was pretty uptight anyway, so it probably contributed to my well-being, or not well-being.